got today? Well, I got some paints I'm going to move out of the frame first. And then, last weekend, I built up most of these guys on stream, or at least all the ones from the starter box, up on stream, and these are the Masters of the Universe He-Man Battlegrounds miniatures. I went ahead and built up the other 2 packs that came in like the starter bundle my parents got me, and yeah, I kind of primed them. You can still see there's a bunch of the purple kind of showing through. That's fine, right? It has a very fine coat on it. I don't really want the primer to be color anyway. I really just wanted to give the model some kind of tooth. Really, that's my goal. So today we're going to work on Beastman, and he is basically orange and red, which to be honest is kind of hateful, but it's what we got. It's what he's supposed to be. So I've got Molten Orange from the Fanatics War Paints, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hit him with a base coat. This is not going to cover very well. None of the orange paints do, unfortunately. So I'm going to hit him with a base coat, and then we're going to go look at his art, because he's going to actually take a couple of base coats. I remembered him being brown, like fur brown, and not orange, but yeah, he was orange apparently, so that's a thing. Yeah, so he is basically an orange furry in a BDSM harness, in a blue Speedo. Which, I mean, explains a lot about how I became who I am, but you know. I definitely do not remember him being these colors, though, that's for sure. But yeah, I pulled up some art from the cartoon, like a screen grab from the cartoon. And he's actually a slightly different color in the cartoon than in a lot of the media. Because it seems like in a lot of the media he has a white face, almost like face paint or like a macaque monkey. In the cartoon his face is actually like a peachy color. So I think that's what we'll probably actually do. Instead, I think that'll be more fun. My puppo is laying in the doorway. Yeah, so I'm just going to throw a base coat of this down because it's not going to cover very well at all. I could have done like a pink underneath first. That probably would have helped for the coverage and given it some like cool shadow and stuff for the orange. But I didn't think about that in time before I started putting on the orange. So here we are, putting on the orange. Yeah, I'm just going to give him a little base coat. And then we'll go look at his art while this coat dries, and then we'll do another one, and maybe we'll queue up someone else's art then. These guys, they have a ton of detail, but the characters themselves don't have a lot of colors because they're from like an old cartoon. So unless you want to like embellish them, which could be fun to do, but unless you want to do that, they really aren't that complicated. Give me one sec. Gundam pieces. Right. Okay, let's go look at his art. Okay. Bonk. So, that's good old Beastman. So we got orange fur, we have a kind of pinkish face, we've got some red gear, and then some blue and a yellow belt. And it looks like a lot of people are imagining him as having this like macaque monkey face, but I think that comes from the original toy kind of having that, but the cartoon didn't have that. In the cartoon, he just clearly has like eyeliner. So I think I'm gonna go for the cartoon. So we're gonna keep that molten lava color for our orange. I think that's pretty spot on. And then I've got ultramarine blue. This is just a very classic blue. The art for him is using like Link blue, like Sonic blue, and I just hate that color so much. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do a slightly more muted blue. This guy also has a whip and a whole bunch of spikes coming out of his chest, like hair. So we're going to do those in some kind of tan. And then we've got burnt turf for his belt. This is an amazing yellow. I just found this paint the other day. I'm using it now literally for everything. It's like my favorite paint. For his face, I'm going to use Cobalt Skin. And then for his clothing, I'm not super sure what red I'm going to use. I might use burnt red, which is kind of a deeper kind of red, or bold pyroric red is like much more kind of true, I think, to the thing, but I think the burnt red's going to look a lot nicer. So yeah, so that's kind of our options. And then the other one I was thinking about doing today is this guy who is Merman. So it looks like the original toy was an orange Speedo, orange face, and then kind of like a teal body and yellow gear. It looks like a lot of people are reimagining him kind of in like a gold almost, or almost like maybe like a high bone color. Why is there no art? Why is there not a picture of him from the freaking cartoon? Oh, hold up. Original. There we go. Alright, yeah, I guess he follows the toy pretty damn close, to be honest. Yeah, alright, well, we'll keep that as our... That's so dopey, I love it. Yeah, I guess he's kind of like a green, kind of a little bit more like a blue sometimes. I guess his staff is silver. Alright, so he differs from the toy a little bit, but not too much. Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess we could start doing his base coat while we wait for Monkey Man to dry. Let me find a good color for that. Be back in a sec. Okay. Alright, we got some options. Now, straight up, this is the color I remember Merman being. I remember him being like kind of like almost kind of like a dark mint green. Apparently my memory there is just really off. So I got a couple of options. We could do something really bright, like jade green here. This tidal blue actually dries slightly greener than it looks here on the bottle. We could do scurvy green, which is kind of like a dark green. Or I've got jade here and dark jade. This one looks more like the cartoon. This one looks more like the toy. I think we'll try out dark jade and see how it goes. Actually, let's try out jade and see how it goes, because then when we do a wash over it, it'll darken down a little bit. I think that'll be pretty good. But yeah, man, I am kind of surprised how poorly I remember the colors of some of these things. I could also just look at the box, but it's more fun to actually go and look at the original art, you know? Alright, where is Merman at? Here he is. Like, I swore his staff was yellow as a kid. But maybe I'm wrong. Alright, maybe it was in the toy, maybe? Yeah, this is a great color for him, this jade from Proacryl. Alright, so we'll get his base coat done, and then we'll go back to Beastman for a base coat. And we'll just kind of walk back and forth between the two, to be honest. It's a little cold here in Hawaii today, hence I am wearing my hoodie. I'll probably heat up as the stream goes on and take it off, but yeah, so it means our paint's going to dry a little bit slower than normal. I was going to say, it's going to dry a lot faster in other places where it's really cold, but I guess it's starting to get hot other places, huh? Yeah, I lived at a place that had crazy seasons for like 30 years. You think I would be like more into that, but since I've been on here for God, like a while now, and every day is kind of the same. It's really weird. My brain's just like, what are seasons? Yeah, this guy does kind of have a Garfield face. Why he has a raccoon face, I don't know, but he does. That's how he be. Alright, round 1 of jade done. He's gonna need a second round of jade, but honestly I think we might wait and do that once we start cleaning up his details, because that jade covered pretty well, even just like slapping it on like a maniac like I just did. Yeah, it covered fairly well, so I think we'll just leave it as is. Alright, let's go back to our main man, Beastman. And we'll touch up his orange a little bit and go from there. So, yeah, I wish these orange paints covered better than they do. But really, no line really has a good orange paint. This orange paint from scale 75 is pretty decent. But even that is not as good as like other paints are. Maybe it's just something to do with the nature of the style of paint. Sort of like yellow, right? So if you put yellow on too thin, it becomes green. Maybe it's something like that. But it just always is very thin. Yeah, so assembling these all was pretty easy. To be honest, the only weird one is Orko. Because Orko has a flying base. So if you're going to prime him, you need to either mask off the flying base or keep him in 2 parts while you prime him. Hence why you might see Orko bouncing around at the top of the shot there. Yeah, I haven't put him on his base yet. Alright, Beastie Boy. I'm going to set you down for another minute, and we're going to start figuring out what our next color is going to be. That orange still going to need some love, but it'll get some more love in the touch-up step. Alright, so I think the next one we're going to do, kind of want to knock his speedo out, to be honest. I think that's my next goal. Really, we probably should do the stuff with the most surface area, which should be the red, but I think I want to knock the speedo out. My other husband is playing a PvP game. Yeah. It's kind of neat. There's still a whole lot of like reimagination of these characters. I think because they were there for a lot of people's like formative years. But it's kind of neat to see, especially when you go and look at all the art and stuff that people do nowadays for them. It's kind of cool. Definitely not a world that I like would think to even look at until my parents sent me this starter box. But fun nonetheless, you know? And who knows, maybe someone might want to play He-Man. One of my husband's friends or something, because it's a like recognizable IP, right? A little bit easier to sell those to people than it is to sell something they've never heard of, you know? Like, oh, let's play Stargrave or something. It's like, yeah, no. It's a lot harder, you know? Maybe we should have worked on Fish Boy instead, because a lot of this paint is still wet. Yeah, okay. So, and then the other blue thing is like this medallion in the middle of his chest and like the dead center. There we go. Alright. And now we're going to let him dry because he still has a lot of wet paint on him. We're going to break out that burnt turf color. I love this color. It is so wonderful. Just a beautiful kind of like eggy yellow. Not even eggy, like deviled eggs-y, I guess. If those are words that I just said. Just a beautiful yellow. And cover is fairly decent for yellow as well. This is a very like World War II feeling kind of color to me. Like I wonder if, because I used kind of like a green for a lot of my like Zelt bands and stuff like that for my Germans. I wonder if I'd use this yellow, what it would be like. It's now too late to go back and try that because I have painted too many things in those colors and I'm not repainting them all. But I do wonder how this yellow would work for that. So like the as one of the colors in the Splinter Tarn camo, essentially. I think it would be pretty cool. All right. Merman. Kind of curious to see what other colors are, or what other characters are slightly different colors than what I remember. You know, like I think Trapjaw is like blue and purple, but who knows, man? You know, I didn't remember Beastman being fucking orange and red. But the irony is that now that I look at him being painted that way, like it looks correct. You know what I mean? But like I wanted to have been like, oh, let me go get my oranges before I pulled out some reference. You know what I mean? He's got little. They do seem to have little, like, kind of like more detailed embellishments on them. Maybe we'll do something to pick some of those out. It's like Merman's got like some kind of locks, or like a thing that like a strap that holds it on. I don't know what those are called, but down here on his greaves, he has I don't know, something like holding it in place, I guess. There we go. I'm gonna do his gloves. Oh man, get in there slowly. My back is like killing me today. I don't know why. But making progress. But yeah, so last time I was streaming, I had talked about what is that game called? God, I'm totally blanking. I talked about birds and badgers, and how I could potentially take the miniatures that I did for Dead Man's Hand and do a similar thing for burrows and badgers. Oh! Where I 3D print animal heads and then put them onto like Wargames Atlantic bodies, essentially. And it could be pretty cool. So I decided I would give that a try. So I actually picked up 2 of the Frostgrave boxes. I try out, see if I can make some cool stuff. So I got Soldiers 1 and Soldiers 2. I figured I would try putting some of those together later today. If I could make some cool like fantasy animals. Phantomals, if you will. No, you won't, that's dumb. Okay. Yeah, stuff is drying really slow today. Alright, well, since that's drying so slow, let's go ahead and do a different color. So what I was going to do is yellow belt, but let's grab some other color while everything else dries. So unlike the one on the show, he has a bunch of spikes coming out of his chest. I'm just going to do those in tan, I think. And then maybe once he has his washes, we'll come back and hit those with like kind of like off-white tips, maybe. Might be kind of cool. I think we'll just have to wait and see. It's one of those things where like I'm a little bit afraid of embellishing too much, because I think it might make it not look like the character to me, and I really want it to look like the character, you know what I mean? Like I want to embellish a little bit so they're mine, but I don't want to do it so much that you can't tell it's Beastman anymore, you know? And that's always a hard road to go down, you know? Because like sometimes you're like, oh, you know, these are going to be neon green and purple, and you know, but sometimes you want that like where you can recognize what they are still, but enough that they look unique, you know? And then we'll do his whip in the same color. Yeah, you can see the detail's pretty good. This this orange paint is a bit of a pain in the tail, to be honest, because it's so bright it kind of tricks your eyes into not seeing a lot of the detail, and that's kind of unfortunate. It also makes it really hard to paint. Now if you were to paint Beastman, what I would recommend you do is I would say you get a really good coat of orange, and then you hit him with a wash, like a dark wash, and it will help you kind of get around the brightness of these coats so that you can see the details better. You'll have a much better time then painting him. Go. Alright, let's paint his yellow belt in. And he tries. Oh my God, do I try? Try all the time. This institution. Yeah. Oof, man. Did not realize how tired I was until just now. That just really hit me. Oof. Big, big, big tired. But we're gonna get through Beastman. And probably Merman too. Yeah. Alright, so there's his yellow belt. And since we still got yellow on the brush, we'll touch up Merman's gear with it. Make sure we've got good coverage of this color. And then I need to, I think Merman's panties are orange. I think. And we'll go and look it up. Because I'm betting his belt is also yellow. We'll check that in a sec too. Let's at least get the rest of this yellow used up. There we go. All right. But yeah. So I got these models for potentially birds and badgers, which is pretty darn cool. I opened them up, so I got Soldiers 1 and Soldiers 2. And I cracked them open. Cool models. Nice models. Unfortunately, they're the little sprues, which kind of sucks, to be honest. Because the alright, give me one sec. Some of those kind of like true push fit miniatures, some of them are on like actual like full size sprues, but then some of them are on like these little kind of like smaller sprues. And Soldiers 1 and Soldiers 2 are both, one's on like a small sprue and one's on like a mid-sized sprue. And there's still plenty of parts on there and all that cool stuff, but I don't know. It's always like, man, you know, they could have had so many more parts and bits and stuff on this sprue. So yeah, just interesting, you know. But there's plenty of stuff on there, especially if you're going to be adding things from other kits, because it's one of the big benefits of all those like multi-part plastic kind of kits. They are all like insanely kit bashable. You can probably see this orange going on way better than the orange I used for Beastman. This is the scale 75 one I mentioned. This is like the only good orange I have in my entire collection that has good coverage. However, the tone is kind of off for Beastman, so and we'll paint in his like raccoon face that he has, and we are also going to have to paint in his teeth and his eyes. Beastman is probably not going to get painted eyes, but Merman will. And there he is. He's slowly starting to look like Merman. Look at that shit. Alright. I'm going to paint his trident just because I want to right now. Sounds like fun. So in the toy, the trident was not silver. But in the cartoon, it looks like it was silver. So we'll paint it like the cartoon. Oh, he's got little embellishments on it. Guess we could actually put those, paint those in too. He's got little like gems on it. Yeah, we'll go ahead and paint those in. That'll be nice. We'll wait for the silver to dry first though. Now, if you don't want to paint these miniatures for this game, you can just leave them as is because they are in colored plastic. Obviously, they won't be the correct colors, but you know, you'll at least be able to tell the bad guys from the good guys at a quick glance, which is pretty dope. Oh, yeah. All right, let's put him to the side. Oh, let him dry up, and then we'll touch up some more. And let's paint in Beastman's clothes slash fur slash gauntlets. I don't know. The Beastman red parts. we're going to use a slightly darker red because I think it will just generally look nicer on the model and stand out from the orange a little bit more. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Sorry, every time I'm trying to play around with my camera some, as I had to redo a whole bunch of stuff, and I just kind of like have not gotten it back 100% yet to where I want it. So apologies if it if some parts are a little blurry or I'm off screen or something sometimes. That's not intentional, and I am trying to fix it. Yeah. But anyway, back to the Frostgrave stuff. All those Frostgrave kits are they're just wonderful. Like, I really cannot sing their praises enough. All those multi-part miniature kits really are. Let's see, he doesn't have any leg straps or leg armor, so that's fine. And they're all interswappable, which is really nice. So I'll be able to use some parts from the Barbarian sprue that I have, and I'll be able to use some parts from the Cultists or the Beastmen. Just a lot of really good options, you know. I was thinking about maybe picking up some other sprues to go with them too. There's a really cool looking guards kit that's out right now for Guards of Trader's Toll, which looks like a fun game, but it also it's funny because it looks like a funny game, but like kind of like a chill and like, you know, make jokes kind of game, but it also looks like it takes a really long time, which is kind of weird in my brain. Like, you think if it was kind of like a chill, kind of casual, like drinks and jokes kind of game, it would be a little faster. But it looks like it, I've been watching some battle reports for it, and it looks like it takes a good bit, you know? So I was thinking about picking up the starter box for it, but I think I'm going to hold off now and just pick up the models for it. Because I think, yeah, if it was a bit of a faster game, I think I might actually be able to convince people to play it. Oh! But looks like it takes a little longer, unfortunately. And I think part of that is the way that your actions go as a guard. Because your guard is essentially not aware of what's really going on around them the way the player is, so they have to do a lot of random movement and stuff, and that really seems to like slow things down. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that just makes it not what I'm looking for. If you're curious about the battle reports I was watching the ones from Hobby Homies, who are delightful. They are very entertaining channel, and they fucking just riff on each other constantly, and it's very funny. Their battle reports are highly entertaining. They did one for StarQuest where they got their fucking asses absolutely hammered to them, and it was hysterical. So yeah, I would highly recommend watching those, but after having watched them, I probably will not pick up Guards of Trader's Toll. you know, that's what that's for, right? Now I know. I think I am going to pick up the minis for it, though. So they have 2 kits for that. One is a, one's like a guards, and one's like a group of like peasants. And they look like amazing kits. Just tons of personality and like fun kind of thing. Yeah, I think this deeper red was a good color. Good choice. Good choice, me. You did a good job, me. Thanks, me. I just summed up every stream I've ever made right there for you. You're welcome. Because if I was to sum up my other streams, it would be like, buying toys is fun. Toys are cool. It opens toy. Toys are cool. I think that's like every unboxing I've ever done. Right there for you. Alright. Well, our beastie man here needs a lot of cleanup still. But he's getting there. So that's good. So we'll just start doing cleanup. And yeah, I'm not going to worry about the bases right now, because what I'm going to do is, when I'm done with all of them, I'm going to go through them and try to normalize the bases as best I can. Because I'm not a big fan of like character themed bases, but that's what these got, so it's what we got to deal with, you know. But I do like the idea that we can at least try to get some of the colors the same. So I think I will try to do that at the very end. Alright. Go paint in this guy's belt. And his weird, like, belly button bow tie that he has for some reason. Now, so many of the designs for these are so similar because they were using the same molds for the toys. I would just swap out things like the heads and the arms. And it saved them a lot of money and stuff, so that's why a lot of these designs are so similar. Like why every dude is wearing a Speedo, for example, right? So like almost every male model is wearing a Speedo, and it's because they all actually just use the same body. It's also why you have silly things like Skeletor being fucking ripped when he's like really like some kind of weird kind of mage. He's also kind of like a fighter. I don't know. He's much more mage than he's much more a fighter than Mumra from Thundercats was. That's for sure. Because he was just straight up a lich. There we go. Alright, then we also need to touch up his orange, so we'll do that too while we're here. And then I think I want to paint his sword a bone color, because to me it looks like it's made out of bone. So I think we'll break that tan back out. And that will let us touch up the tan on Beastman too. guess he has a big big error there at the top of the shoulder, so let's fix that too while we're here. Just very much of the jade bleeding through there. There we go. And then we can do this area too. And then we can do that too. There we go. Okay. Coming along, coming along. So yeah, I think this sword looks very bony to me, like it's made out of bone. And I think when I looked at the power cards or whatever, it really did look like it was made out of bone. So we'll do it in like a tan. And then we'll, I don't know, maybe hit it with a lighter kind of off-white at the end after the washes have dried. Alright, so we are just going to, almost done with all of our basic base coats. We're just going to go into cleanup on those and then into washes and stuff. So okay, let's see. All right. Okay. So let's do Beastman's face, and then we can do Beastman's eyes and Merman's, or Beastman's teeth and Merman's eyes. And then I think we'll do another round of red. Oh, I need to do the brown one. Beastman. Shit. Let's do that before I forget. So if the red bleeds up on this a little bit, that's okay. Because, I mean, it's, you know, it's like red, like fur mantle, right? So it's not going to be perfectly flat at the end. But at the same time, I don't want like little dots or areas where the coverage isn't good, stuff like that. So we're going to go through and do that real quick. And we'll also touch up his whip because we're here as well. And the last thing we're going to touch up on Beastman. So the last step on both these guys is going to be their skin tone, or fur and scale tone. And that'll be the last base coat we do for either of them. Alright, so let's see. We need to do his face and his mouth. Well, I have this out. I might as well use it on some other characters. So, that's Evil Lynn. I want fucking. Where the fuck is Tila? There she is. Yeah, I might as well use the rest of this paint up. Well, I got it out. Because Evil Lynn, I don't remember her being yellow. Like comical yellow, not like racist yellow, but like, yeah, like Lego person yellow. But on the starter set, that's how she's painted on the box. So I have to look into what color skin tone to actually use for her. That's going to take a billion coats, but just going to get it started, you know? Okay. Red. We're going to do red. Ready, red. See, like, I have an urge to pick these shoulder pads out because they're just like a different design from the rest of the fur mantle, so I don't want them to be I don't want them to be red, but at the same time, like, they're red on the toy and in the show, so I kind of feel like that's what I should do, you know? And I mean, like, he's not looking amazing yet, but we're like, he looks familiar, which is, I think, exactly what we were looking for, you know? At least that's exactly what I want. Like, this really does look familiar, and I think that's pretty awesome. Okay. So there is like a loop on the belt that's holding the whip on. So we're actually going to hit that in yellow real quick. Yeah, right here at the top of the whip, there's a loop holding the belt on. Stroke that, reverse it. There's a loop on the belt holding the whip on. So we're just going to hit that with yellow so it matches the belt real quick. There we go. Nice. I actually think part of the whip is actually, I think, inside his leg here. I think this is actually part of the whip. Yeah, that looks right. Yeah, that looks more right. Okay, cool. Okay, now it is teeth and eyes time. So gonna break out spaceship exterior, but any kind of like white will do. I like this spaceship exterior. It has a new name in the war paints line. I don't remember what the new name is, but it's kind of their soft white color. I like it a lot because I think it covers well, and it's a nice white color without being like too blinding or too yellow. It's kind of like a cool white. I think that's really nice. Alright. So there's Beastman's teeth all done. Let's see. Beastman kind of has like black eyeliner. I think we're going to hope that washes do that before I paint it in. And then we are going to break out some cobalt metal from Fanatics. It's actually my first time using this, so we'll see if we like it. We're going to paint in those gems with this. Because every one of these guys has like gems all over them. So we're going to paint in some of the gems. Just see what they look like. Okay, you can't even tell on that. You should be able to tell really well on the belt. There we go. Okay, alright, and then we'll do the one here at his neck as well. There we go. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for Beastman here on his waist. And over there, and here. Okay. Yeah, coming along, making progress. So, oh, actually, Merman has teeth. Shit. We gotta paint those in. There we go. Alright, we'll clean those up when we get closer to it. Or when we do a skin color, sorry. Alright. Well, our friend Beastman there is pretty much done for base coats except for his fur color. So we're going to break out that fur color again and we're going to clean up all the lines on him. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. And then we're going to set him down and let him chill, and then we will do our washes on him. Now after washes for Beastman, maybe I'll do some dry brushing. I think I will paint the tips in his chest spikes. As you can see here, I want to be much careful than when I was originally painting this orange. I want to make sure everything is coated. I want to make sure that we don't hit anything else, right? Because this is essentially our last cleanup step, right? This is the victory lap, essentially, on this guy before we do washes. But yeah, these are actually really nice to paint. The details are good, they're clean, they're crisp. It's not really anything where I'm like, what is this detail? I had a little bit of trouble seeing the detail on Beastman at first because I painted him neon orange, and that is a side effect of the colors, not of the sculpt. The sculpt is actually great, like just wonderful. But yeah, just going back, touching everything up, making sure that orange is covered everywhere. Because the areas this orange is not very strong, it's going to be kind of like more of a browny color. And it's not a bad color, but it's not the color we want for Beastman. So. Yep, you can just kind of see everything. We're just sort of cleaning up as we go. Right, sort of everywhere. Everywhere the fur touches, we're just kind of hitting it again, and we are being careful not to get it on any other level or any other part of the model, because that's going to produce kind of a like a clean line between the colors. And honestly, one of the things that makes models look the nicest is that clean line, at least in my opinion. Doubly so when you hit it with a wash, because the wash is going to accentuate that line. It's going to accentuate the space between your colors. There we go. And then we got to do his face, so I got to lean in a little. So apologies, but I got to kind of get in there to see his face. Make sure I'm not hitting nothing I shouldn't. There we go. Okay. Alright, and that is all of our base coats done on Beastman. And he's going to go chill over there for a minute while we do our base coats, or while we do our base color again on Fishboy. And basically the same thing we're going to do. And then I'm going to give them a little bit to dry, because I don't want to do washes before this paint has had time to cure, and stuff is not curing very quickly right now because of the temperature here. So we're going to give it a little bit. We're going to maybe work on a third bottle. Yeah, so maybe that's what we'll do. for these to dry. Because if we put our wash on too early, what's going to happen is it's going to reactivate our paint, and it's going to get kind of swirly dirly and not be very nice. So we don't want that. So what I've actually started doing is I've started, and I paint models kind of like on my own time. I've started leaving my models to sit like overnight or something before I do the washes, just to make sure that it's nice and cured, right? See, I hit his teeth there, so we got to fix that real quick. I don't think you'll ever actually see it, but I will. So you gotta fix it. There we go. Job done. And now I can repaint his bottom lip a little bit, because I hit that in redoing the white. There we go. Yep. So tomorrow is Mother's Day, and I feel like it would be kind of funny to paint the moms from this set on Mother's Day. So I think I'm going to do that. So I'll probably do Evil Lynn and the Sorceress tomorrow. Because I'm sure some gooner has called Evil Lynn a mommy. So we'll use that to paint her. All right, and there he goes. There's all Fish Boy's base coats done too. All right, so we'll set them over to the side. We'll let them chill. And we'll just start doing some base coats on somebody else. Like, kind of lame character. We'll do Ram Man. Yeah, Ram Man's... he's lame. A lot of the good guys in this show are lame, though. The bad guys are the cool part. I mean, I like Penis Helmet Guy, but whose name is actually a title, which is kind of funny. But yeah. Alright, we'll just start putting some... just doing some basic base coats on these guys. I have way too much water on my brush. There we go. So why did all these old cartoons have like a weird comic relief character? I say looking at Orko. Like, is there a reason they thought kids wanted and or needed that? Right? Like, because like they did like boy and girl characters to try to like capture multiple markets, right? Because of the whole like gendered toy thing. But like, who is Orko for? Right? Is he for like the parents? Like, is there a parent out there that's like, oh, I love Orko, he's my favorite? You know? Because he's blue with like red robes, I think. Do we ever see what he looks like without his, like, hat? He's got these big ears that come through the hat. But, like, he wears a scarf all the time. Is that, like, because he, like, has some, like, horrifying insect mouth? Or something, right? Like, is he covering up for decency? Who knows? Maybe he, now that I paint him blue, that looks wrong. Yeah, that does look wrong. Shit. What the hell color are you supposed to be, Orko? Let me go look. OTU Orko. Okay, he is. He is blue, just a lighter blue. And I guess inside the thing is actually just supposed to be black. Inside the hat. Okay, I can do that. I thought he was a darker blue. Ugh. Okay. Well, we might as well do his red. And once we're done with his red, we'll do some washes. I'm going to switch to the big brush because since I did the blue wrong, it doesn't matter. We can get it all over it. But yeah, real talk. Archon Studios did a really good job on these minis. They're very nice to paint. They're just, they're simple enough, but they represent the characters well. They went together pretty well. I mean, really, the only one I had trouble going together, I had some trouble with Evil Lynn. I accidentally clipped off part of her boobs, and I had to resculpt that. So, that's fine, but that was a me error. But I wonder if it's also like I made the error because how it was placed on the runner, maybe, you know, maybe something like that. But all right. Mighty mo. Catch a tiger by the toe. All right, what do we got here? We got a belt digging into my belly. We got Strong Tone. I'm in love with Strong Tone these days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're gonna mix the Strong Tone with a little bit of wash medium. Now the wash medium from Army Painter lifts the color up a little bit, which I'm not super fond about. Makes it a little less dark, but it's okay. Okay. All right. You actually look better dried. So we're actually going to hit you first. And we're going to go all over our model. It's literally over everything. For his panties and his belt. And his weird yellow armor. Why did Fishman work for Skeletor anyway? He seems like he's like, I don't know, like the Prince of Atlantis or some shit. Although I guess he was in swamps a lot more than like actually swimming out in the ocean. He was much more of like a, I'm gonna pop out of the swamp and get ya kind of guy. So maybe that's why. Maybe it was a Shrek thing and he was like, get out my swamp. There we go. All right. Looking good. Looking good, looking good. All right, we can do that. And that. And come back and hit his face. And that will help tighten up those areas around his eyes and his teeth. And darken those down for us. And yeah. There's all of our washes done on Fishman. Whose name is actually Merman. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Alright, let's do Beastman. And then we'll give them a minute to dry and then we'll look at them a little bit more. And I'm just being very careful as I apply the wash to Beastman, because I don't want to reactivate that paint. And if I apply the wash too heavily, that's going to happen. Or too, like, hardly. Like, if I try to agitate it too much after I put it down, it will reactivate. And I'm going to have a mess on my hands if that happens. So, you don't want that to happen. It also means that the wash won't sit super properly if the paint under it is not like cured enough. The wash is going to kind of like pull up a little bit. Now this is also a really bad problem with this orange paint in general, is that kind of pooling. And I think it is just the nature of this orange paint. But it's the best color, it's the closest color to him, and it's the color that I have. So, we make do, fam. I say make do, I literally picked the ideal color from a giant paint rack. It definitely does not count as making do, but you know. We overcome its challenges, I guess is a better way to say that. All right. Now, because of this orange paint underneath, he's going to have a lot more pooling than Merman did. So I'm just trying to go back and clean a little bit of up here and there where I can. All right, so there he is with his washes applied. Let's do another coat on Arco real quick, and then we will take a look at them with our washes and call it for the day. And I will probably go play some Warframe. I've been kind of wanting to go out to the big Don Quixote. anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's basically Japanese Walmart. Just been having the desire to go walk around there, so maybe I'll try to convince my husband to go do that with me today. That sounds like fun. All right. Okay. Oh, let's take a look at our guys. I'll paint you up. First off, we have Merman. There it goes. That looks pretty damn good, I'm not gonna lie. And then we have Beastman, who, while still shiny from his wash, also looks pretty damn good. So once he dries, he's going to be super baller. And I'll show him off tomorrow when we paint the Sorceress and probably Evil Lyn tomorrow. There's the Sorceress. But yeah, so I think that's going to be it for me for today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint He-Man. That's not He-Man, but He-Man adjacent characters. And I will catch you tomorrow. So have a good one, and